MLR Week 1 is done and dusted, and boy was it exciting, all the way from New Orleans to Atlanta to Toronto, San Diego, Austin, Texas. Man, there was rugby going on everywhere. And in Houston? Well, Houston, we do not have a problem this year at all. D stood for DeBullis in Washington, D.C. as he took his team forward, but it wasn't enough as the high-flying ATL get a win for the brand-new coach in his first season. His head coach taking over. Another two head coaches first year in the league go head-to-head. New England versus NOLA, and what looked to be good start kind of ended up turning into a one-way fest with New England. New England doing a great job. Every time NOLA was threatening, they were taking the ball away in the goal line, and Bonin walking cement right here killed it. San Diego, Joe Peterson doing what Joe Peterson does, absolutely scored tries. And we see right here, San Diego, great on the day, would beat Utah, but a mistake by one of the legends of the game leads to this. Mikey Tail picks it up and gets to the offload for the try. Utah, not enough to get done against San Diego. Now in Texas, the battle of Austin versus Dallas. Who's going to win that? Well, Bach is going to win this run all the way down there. Austin, pretty much one-way affair, dominated all day. And Seattle is pumped. Live Broccoli Rob's in action, and also the man in action, Ross Neal. Had himself a big game. He's going to pick this one up, take it all the way. You know what he's going to do? He's going to set some fireworks up in Seattle, and he's going to start this show because we've got a solid show for you tonight. Without further ado, Dan Power, James Patterson, Pat Clifton, right after this. Roll that intro.
Hey folks, and welcome to the newest rugby show on the block, covering all things rugby, not only in America, but around the world. It's The Point Taken. We've got JP, James, Hatto, Addison joining us.
Serious note though, we are going to come at you live, okay? So unedited, live. You can join in on social media.
The one and only Pat Clifton, the most informed and probably loudest voice in American rugby. Pat, is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, sure, that sounds fair.
Whenever you're ready.
Thanks to Ryan Ginty working hard behind the scenes for us. We are in the middle of the streaming wars right now, and that's something that they have to be very conscientious. Television, as we knew it growing up, probably never going to exist in the same way. And of course, myself, Dan Power, aka The Panther, and we are going to discuss all things rugby with more of a Major League Rugby theme to it. We're going to go deep. We're going to get dirty. We're going to be open. We're going to be a little bit brash at times, but we're going to have some fun doing it. What do you say, boys?
Well, you made a lot of promises there. I hope I can deliver on them.
I think you got the brash part taken care of for us.
This show sucks. Are we going to do a second one? I think we should scrap it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, we are live, and welcome to the first ever The Point Taken. Pat Clifton, James Patterson, Dan Power, and we are going to peel back the onion layer by layer for not only Major League Rugby, but rugby in America. Gentlemen, firstly, welcome you in. Pat, big weekend in rugby. Six Nations kick off over in Europe. Major League Rugby kicks off here in the USA. Where'd you watch it? How'd you watch it?
Six Nations was going. That happened last weekend. I couldn't. I was drowned out by all the TRN promo there on social media. I was down in New Orleans at the Gold Mine on Airline. Got to ate an entire king baby cake in the suite up there. You know, the owner opened up the door for us, and no, it was fantastic. I got to watch the Free Jacks take down the gold live and slap some backs in the VIP. It was a really great weekend.
First show ever, and he's already in the owner's box. How good is that? JP, what about you, brother?
I did a little bit of holding the baby while watching Major League Rugby. So that's important. I can multitask. And then we actually snuck one in at an awards ceremony on Saturday night. We had the Houston game up, just kind of tucked in behind a couple of bottles of beer, didn't we?
Yeah, actually one of our guests was a star in that game tonight. And unfortunately, they were doing a little reading, like in memory, and everyone was silent, and I've got the game on the table. I didn't know how to flip the phone quick enough. But like, what's this guy doing watching the game of rugby? And we're like memorializing one of our great players. But yeah, we got to watch quite a bit of rugby. There's some upsets, you'd say. It's hard in week one to call them upsets, isn't it? Because we just don't know enough.
No.
Yet. But what was the surprise off the weekend? I think I know what everyone's going to be, but Pat, take it away.
Well, I'll take you lobbed it up. I'll slam dunk the alley-oop. The Houston SaberCats taking down the LA Guiltinis. I mean, the hapless SaberCats last year, they've been at the bottom of the barrel, and they just go and flip the league champion Guiltinis. Still missing a few pieces, but, I mean, an absolute performance. What you would hope. With JT on it, I think probably relief would be my guess was the emotions on his face as he was, okay, this worked. importing all of South Africa worked.
But let's bear in mind, we were in this position last year. So after week 1 last year, we're talking about, okay, the Sabercats are going to go 2-0 for the first time in franchise history. They've just beaten the Seattle Seawolves. Like, we're talking exact same boat. And then they finished last in the West. So they're obviously a lot better this year, but it's the first week.
I'm going to go 2022 Guillotini's greater than the 2021 Seawolves. That seems obvious after week 1.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot about the opposition today.
All right. Yeah. Hey, who was it for you?
You know, I was actually surprised at San Diego. So I thought Utah would have come out a little bit stronger. They've lost a few key pieces, I think, around the playmaker, especially in the 9 position. I expected them to be more competitive. You look, if they don't get that garbage time try at the end of the game, it's a dominant performance by the Legion. And so the Legion really impressed me.
Yeah, I'm going to go Seattle. I know we just kind of rubbed them a little on 2021 performance, but look good. Toronto pretty depleted, but Seattle, they lost a lot of those close games last year, Pat. And as you know, mentally, sometimes that can be a hurdle in a squad that's not too different from last year. They've had a few inclusions, but the core is still there. And so I thought what they did at home there against Toronto was a pretty good performance. So let's go to the flip side. Who was not? Who was what Rick James said? I wish I had 4 hands, so I could give that performance 4 thumbs down.
I'll take the easy one here again with the Dallas Jackals. Entering the season without a head coach, it went about as well as you'd expect. I felt bad for Elaine Bassey on the sideline, having to watch her team and be the face of, as they were zooming in. And who put this team together? Oh, she did, and they're down 41-7. I felt bad for her. It was a little unlucky, but the Jackals in their first hit out, the scrum looked like it was just in pieces and on skates. So, unfortunately, they're the ones that started there, and a tough week for them.
For me, it was Old Glory. What happened to them in the second half just completely disappeared. I know ATL, it was really fun watching ATL. So you've got this old mentality that they had of just smash and bash rugby, but you see a little bit of the influence of the new head coach finally getting the keys to the Maserati, and he gets to open up the wheel, and there was a few more attacking pieces to play there.
Yeah, I think maybe under Scotty Lawrence, it was like one of those plastic cars that your kids drive around in, literally can't get past, and then Brody's just gone, let's open up the Jets. Both great answers. I'm actually going to go Nola Gold, really. And that was a game you were at, Pat. Disappointing because just thought they just looked really stale coming out of the gates. I know they had some late changes with the coaching staff, whatnot, but just didn't get inspired. And that was the sneaky game that we're watching on Saturday night. But New England looked really good. They looked a lot better than what I thought they were going to look, to be honest, on the road down there in New Orleans. But maybe you've got some more insight in that game than what it looked on television. But for me, I thought Nola just did not look good.
I think Bowden Walker got a hold of Tom Brady's trainer and started doing the stretch routine instead of the lifting routine because he looked younger, playing 10 than he did last year.
Who's that guy? What's his name? Rodriguez or something? No. What is his name?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it turns out that the key to being the best quarterback of all time is stretching instead of lifting. So pay attention at home to that. But no, Bowden Walker I thought was fantastic at 10, and the Free Jacks did look better, but the Gold were really depleted in the forwards. I mean, they started Malcolm May in the second row, which is, he's a pretty short second rower, and he was struggling to get on the field last year in the back row, let alone. So I think they were pretty deep down into the reserves in the forward, and that cost them quite a bit.
All right. Before we go to the break, player of the round for you, who was hot?
Mike DeBoulis, the chicken.
On the losing side.
Fabulous. I did. Look, you know what I love about week 1? The Americans get to play. Some of the imports haven't come in yet. My American fly, I thought he was great. People were, commenting, who's this guy? And, it gave me an opportunity to pretend like I knew something. So
I know that guy. Yeah. Hey, we could bring this in later. I know we haven't got a plan for this show, but the burner account segment we have, but there is an Instagram account called The Dumb Half, who does a little bit of satirical stuff. Very negative against New York, but very positive for the chicken, the Bullets. So I'm guessing Penn State grad from New York rhymes with Smike Smetry.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to use Instagram. But what about you, Pato? Who was your player of the round?
The front row for the Houston team, both of them. So I think Solvera and Zeiss, they were really good, dominant against a pretty good scrum.
Yeah. I'm going Nate Augsburger. Great to see him back. Had a bit of a tough year last year with injury. Thought he was inspired. And sometimes it can be a little tough being like, and Nate doesn't, I think we all know well enough, Nate doesn't lack confidence. But being in a team where you've got an option to pass the ball to Ma'a Nonu, Chris Robshaw, Joe Peterson, can be a little overwhelming, right, for a young 9. He's not young, but a 9. So I thought he handled that well and marshaled the team around really, really well on the field. So, yeah, Nate Hawksberger. American, or foreign? God damn it, James. Come on. All right, we will step away and take a short break. When we return, we're going to welcome our first guest in. And if you're female between the ages of 18 and 28-ish, you'll know this next guest. So stick around here with the staff of the Houston SaberCats on the weekend, scoring a great try. I'll leave that. That's
So same target demographic, me and
Faster. I know who and what I am! I know who and what I am! I'm a money free Jackman! I'm a money free Jackman! We play hard and we play fast! We play hard and we play fast! Ain't no way we coming last! Ain't no way we coming last! Boys do that gritty work! Boys do that dirty work! That's a back and stop to twerk! That's a back and stop to twerk! We gon' be the only task! We gon' be the only task! So free Jackman, we ready? Yes, we are ready! Free Jackman, we ready! Yes, we are ready! Hoo ha, hoo ha, hoo ha! It is! Hoo, it is! Free Jacks are having a party! Free Jacks are having a party! Free Jacks are having a party!
There it is. I love how he's reading off the phone. The first win of the season is always a tough one. You need to learn lyrics. All right, without further ado, we welcome in our first guest, Hedy Labuschagne. Did I get that right, Hedy?
Yeah, close enough.
Thanks, man. I'm working on my Afrikaans, I promise. Star for the Houston SaberCats, outside back. We haven't picked a position for you yet. You played on the wing on the weekend, but I know you've got some versatility back there. And then, I hate to do this, State, but star off Netflix show, Too Hot to Handle. It came down to Hedy and myself for the last position, and they went with Harry. I don't know why. I saw him without his shirt on, and I'm like, come on. Some people like the husky gentleman, but not enough, apparently. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you so much. It's really
I'm going to open you up to the panel here for questions about we'll start with your time in Houston, boys. Anything for Hedy?
I mean, what do you think of the weather? It's unseasonably cold down. No, I'm kidding. You're live here, and I assume everyone's speaking Afrikaans as you get off the the tarmac. Can you even tell you're in Texas with all the coaching you got to there? How did you end up in Houston? They just raked in a bunch of rugby players at a field, and you were one of the guys?
Nah, see, we are just. I think like the coach just picked what he thought he needed. In Houston, we're just like privileged to have another chance to play the game we all love. But yeah, to be in Houston is just amazing. Like there is like some cool South Africans all around Houston, and like everyone's reaching out, wanting to meet us, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we're just having fun, enjoying our time here so far, and just looking to build from this. And yep, it's just having fun.
So let's pivot a little bit to the show right now, because I'm a little bit jealous. Yeah, I was an outside back. I'm going to bring up something about a marshmallow a little bit later, but that was actually my nickname on the field. It was glass shoulders or marshmallow shoulders or something. So I didn't get it. Like, I didn't get the opportunity on the reality show to be cuddly and cute like a marshmallow. But in the show, actually, you mentioned that you're cute like a lion and you like to roar. Was that a play to cement your position as a SaberCat, or had you signed at that stage before the show, or that was just kind of like bring me out?
No, I actually haven't signed at the SaberCats yet. But funny enough, like I've played like at the Cheetahs in South Africa. I played at the Lions. I played at the Pumas, which is all like from a cat family, which is pretty cool. And yeah.
What about left the Panthers?
Like...
we start a team, the Panthers. You're our first guy.
The Kansas City Panthers.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe
Can
just
you
go
swim?
to football and move Panthers. Yeah.
And we see a lot of athletes do the reality TV at the back end of their career. You jumped in the opposite. You went early in your career. How has rugby been since you were on the show? Like, how has it been received by not only your teammates but the opposition as well?
To me, like, to be honest, like I took a year and a half break off rugby. Like I had a pretty bad concussion. I played in Japan and I had a pretty bad concussion, and I took a year off rugby. and then I did the show. I thought I wasn't really going to play again, and then got the opportunity to play again at the Pumas for a Curry Cup game, and then got scouted to come to Sabercats. That's how I got into that. Yeah.
As far as getting recognized, right? It's not often that Major League Rugby players are just walking around the street and people recognize them. I imagine you might actually. What's your recognizability? Do people see you from Netflix and recognize you walking around? Is it different here than it was back home? Are you more recognizable in the States?
Yeah, a lot more recognizable. Like in South Africa, like you have like farmers that doesn't really care about movies and Netflix, and they have like old Nokia phones and like just to call, not even WhatsApp on there. But yeah, it's like pretty cool, like walking in the mall, like, oh man, you're Harry from Tour to Handle. I'm like, yo, nice to meet you, like stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Look at this. He's got an accent. He's over here. What I want to know is how wide is your slips department? Anytime you're out there, like how many guys are in the slips? There'd be at least 3 or 4 guys just waiting just for whatever falls off the side.
Your wingman.
Yeah, wingman. Sorry, cricket terminology here.
Oh no, like I don't know. Like to be honest, like I'm pretty chill like that. I have my boys around me, and like I'll rather like let them have the girls first, then I'll just chill. Like you know what I mean?
Teammate.
Like I don't always have to, you know what I mean? Like do those things. Like I'm a very chilled person, so yeah.
I can tell. Well, funny enough, this isn't a reality TV show. We actually brought you on here to talk a little rugby, a little footy. So let's go weekend. Let's dive in. LA, your first game out of the gates against the defending champions. Did you watch much of the league last year? And then what were your thoughts coming into this game against LA?
Well, my thoughts coming against LA, I watched some of their clips, obviously. I did my homework, like, on the players that I'm playing against. Like, it's important for me to know what I'm getting into when I'm playing rugby. But, like, we're just wanting to play to our strengths, like, less to the opposite team's strengths. I know they are an amazing team, and LA is, like, on another level. And so is New York, our upcoming game. But, like, for me, like, I always want us to play our game. That's just what I went into the game for, like thinking. But yeah, I'm just really excited, like to be here, and like we have our first like win under the belt, but it's just the start. You know what I mean? We have to keep on doing what we're doing to keep on winning. You know what I mean? Like, and you've a lot of people have mentioned to me like the Sabercats won their first game last year as well, which like is okay, but like you can't, if you want to be a winning team, you have to keep on winning. You can't just win one game and then lose one, and win one and then lose one. So that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and be consistent and just trying to play our game, play our rugby. And yeah, we're just really excited to be here and do what we love.
What's your first impression of the league, right? You've just gotten started here in Major League Rugby. You've watched some film, right? You saw the quadricep with eyeballs, John Ryberg, on film, but now you've actually had to run against him and bump against him a little bit. What is your first impression of the league and the both the fans, the game day atmosphere there in Houston, and just the standard?
It's like I feel like it's amazing. Like just got to the MLR, and I didn't really know what to expect, because as rugby is such a growing, like a new growing sport in America, and not a lot of people know about it. It was like the fans was pretty amazing. Like they were like just there. Like it was pretty cold. Like I don't know what it was in Fahrenheit, but it was like 2 degrees Celsius. Like I don't know Fahrenheit yet. I still have to get onto that. But it was pretty cold that night, and there was a lot of fans just coming out, even having blankets on them. The atmosphere is nice, like everyone's shouting after. Like it was just such a cool experience. Like and rugby, like it was tough. Like it was a tough game. Like you know that Sunday mornings when you wake up, you have to help your leg out of the bed. Those rugby games, those were the ones I had this weekend.
Wingers.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's funny.
So coming from Japan, let's speak about that a little bit, because there's been some early comparisons talking about the league right now, and it's kind of in its embryonic form, and people kind of point to Japanese rugby as this. In terms of the style of rugby, or the pace of rugby, or the training atmosphere here, what have you noticed? Is there similarities?
Yeah, For the growing of the sport, Americans do it best. Like that's what I always say. Like when it comes to sport, they'll always like step it up a notch. And like as playing in Japan, like it's a very very fast game in Japan. Like they like to throw the ball around and like just go with it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like small like Japanese guys, but like not to underestimate them. You know what I mean? Because they smack like. They just chop like the biggest dudes, like because they're in Japan, like the best of the best go to play. Like Daniel Carter was there, like Matt Quito that plays for LA was there, like Andy Ellis was there, like all those names you can just keep on naming them, and they were there. And now, like coming to America, they are like the Matt Quito plays for LA. Adam Ashley Cooper, I think, played for LA as well. I'm not sure. I think he still plays there. I didn't play this weekend, so. But yeah,
he actually retired. He retired on Sunday morning after he watched you play. He's like, I'm done.
Oh wow, that's not great news. I would have wanted to play against him one more time.
Yeah. No, well, let's talk this weekend. You're going in at home again against New York. This is going to be their first game. They had a first round bye, which is the first time in any sports competition I've ever heard that a team has a bye in round one. But have you got a chance to look at much of the film from New York last year? Obviously, they've made some changes. They've hired the second coming of Jesus, the Messiah of Major League Rugby. There should be a bronze statue when you go to training every day out the front of Aviva. Sammy Windsor's there. Well, there he is.
Yeah.
Sammy Windsor's there.
Yeah.
Don't be shy, buddy. What do you think in New York, and what are you expecting this weekend?
I'm expecting it to be a very, very tough game. Like they're going to come for us 100%, and we're going to come for them. I think it's going to be a really, really good game of footy, and I'm really excited to just go head on head with one of the best teams in this league. And they have a very good 10 now. Sam, that was at the Houston Sabercats, he was like top point scorer for the Sabercats. So yeah, like we have a thing going, we have a thing coming. Like we're really excited for this weekend, and both of us has something to prove. And I feel like if someone has something to prove, like it's gonna be a good game. Like bring your popcorn, it's gonna be a show.
Yeah, I think so. And then Sam, while we've got you here, we're going to have you on a little later. But you were saying before you come onto the air that you're going to dominate Houston so much that they'll have a one-way flight to Johannesburg Sunday morning to send them all home. Your rebuttal to Harry?
Unfortunately, people know me as well as they know you, Dan, and that's an absolute shit. But yeah, it's I think Harry hit it on the nail on the head there in terms of an entertaining game is probably the kindest way to put it. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it should be a great game. Looking forward to it. While we've got everyone on, what are you guys thinking? This one, let's do an early prediction on it.
Right in front of them?
Yeah, right in front of them. There's no greater motivation than a bunch of useless has-beens deciding what's going to happen with these young guys on the weekend.
All right, I'll take it off the top first. I'm going to take the Sabercats at home. I like the way that they play physicality, defense-wise. I think that the travel is going to be a little tougher for New York, and it's their first hit out. I mean, just simple. I don't want to be the team that is coming off cold, which is a team that's the biggest win in probably program history at home. I think that they've got some momentum to roll with down in Houston.
I'm going to go New York. I think they've got the physicality up front to be able to match them, and they've just got a little bit more experience on the inside.
A lot more
a lot further inside, but yeah. Anyway, I think they'll get the win.
Yeah, listen, as probably the greatest fly half to ever play in New York rugby history, and handing that mantle to Sam, I can't bet against them. So I'm going to go New York to get a win on the road. But Hetty to score 4 tries and then win the aftermatch too at the nightclub by far.
Dan, do you just change your pick for every show you're on, or do you?
Yes, I do. It's hedging the bets, and then I just delete the ones that I'm wrong on and be like, no, I didn't do that. I'm just waiting for text messages now to come through from JT and the crew down in Houston to be like, how dare you? All right, Harry. Appreciate you coming on the show, brother. We'll let you get ready for this weekend. It's going to be an absolute cracker of a game. Excited to see your season. You started with a bang, obviously, on the weekend against LA. Good things happening in New York. Good luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully we get you on a little later as the season progresses as well, brother.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on here, and good luck, Sam. See you on Saturday.
See you Saturday, mate.
Thanks, mate.
He's signed off. He's going to smash him, Sammy. Going to smash him.
How many high balls are you throwing down his channel?
Yeah, it's going to be raining bombs, that's for sure.
Yeah, the big torps. You're going to hit a torp or a floater? You're going to send it down that wing.
Floater. I'm a big fan of the duck. The dead duck's a killer.
Dead duck. Fuck a Balabu running it down.
Yeah, enjoy catching them, especially. It'll be nice weather, I think. I played in Aviva in some horrendous conditions, heat, rain, and whatnot, and not easy to catch it in any of those. So
no, and you know what I noticed on the weekend? You can talk to this because you've obviously been there so long. The lights don't seem to hit very high. So if you put a high ball up, it looks like there's shadows at the top of the post. So if you're playing in the back three and you can get a ball up, which you can kick it that high, I bet you it's probably a challenge. You kind of lose it for a second up there.
I think it's a little trick of the TV. My mother, she's the biggest critic, and she always had something to say about the darkness sort of under the stands, and the lights don't really shine on the whole Aviva Stadium. But those lights are pretty high up. They've done well to build a very good stadium. So I can kick it high, but
hey, mate, I gave you a softball to bag them out, and you're not going to do it.
Still a politician.
I'm not getting in trouble.
Making up to do. After that, the Rugby Network hit, right? I mean, let's talk about it, right? And the return to Aviva Stadium. I mean, it's a big deal for you coming back. We joked about this, the statue. I was down there a month ago or so. They haven't got to work on the statue. I'm sure that it's just probably a cash flow issue and not that they're not planning to build it. But you spent a lot of time down there, scored a ton of points, played in like every game that they played until the last one. What does it mean? What are the emotions for you going back to Aviva and Houston and seeing a lot of those people that you know?
First and foremost, Aviva is one of the best fields I've played on, in my career. I've been fortunate to play in a number of places around the world, and what they did with that stadium and for where we came from is awesome. I think we're really fortunate to have a stadium and field of that quality in MLR, and teams that get to come and play there are super lucky, and I think they all walk in there, bright-eyed and really impressed with the setup that Marty and Mike and JT are building. So I didn't get a proper farewell from Houston in terms. I didn't get to say goodbye to the fans and the people that stuck with us through all the losses the last few years. So probably looking forward to seeing some familiar faces booing and probably saying some not so nice things to me on the sideline. But that's going to be the great thing about it. I think I've got a lot of friends there and people that are close to me. So looking forward to getting back there, seeing those people, and then turning out for my new team, who I couldn't be prouder to play for, and excited to get out.
So what's the contrast been, obviously moving from Aviva, like world-class facility, great practice facility, awesome gym, etc., and then moving to New York? And we know New York's had challenges. It's New York, but there's a different element there. There's a different piece of culture that they have that perhaps the Sabercats didn't. Like, what's been your initial feeling?
It's we as rugby players, we all moan. We moan about anything, whether it's the weather, whether it's a bus trip, whether it's something. So that's no different to any place you go. But I think here in New York, the genuine love and passion to rip in every weekend and be the best team in this competition is common through the whole squad and all the staff. Everyone knows we're in New York, and space is hard to come by. The MLR is still growing, so we don't have a facility like NFL teams or Major League Baseball teams. So boys just turn up, put their head down, go to work, and we have the most fun doing it. That's the only way to get through. Make it fun, make it enjoyable, have a laugh, and then just muck in when we need to.
Hey, Sammy, obviously it's impossible not to kind of address the elephant in the room of you going back to Houston after you gave so much down there and did so much down there in terms of, off the field, on the field, practice. Every time that I did something down in Houston, it almost went through you. Like you wore many, many hats down there. Have you addressed this, or has Marty addressed this with the playing squad, or are you guys just saying, hey, let's just approach this as another game? And how have New York handled your homecoming back to Houston?
It hasn't even been a topic of discussion. It hasn't been brought up. It's something that is definitely not a focus for us as a team. It's not a focus for me, really. Going back there, yes, it's obviously going to have some emotion around it, and there is a bit of significance around it, but my role here in New York has been to play footy and get back to playing footy and enjoying it like I did when I was in other parts of the world, when I was playing my best footy and probably enjoying it the most. So that I guess clouds all the other stuff that's probably going to come along with this weekend's match. And I'm just focused on my job, which fortunately involves catching, passing and kicking and tackling. And not ticket sales or marketing or social media or
anymore, right? Anymore, because it kind of used to. I want to talk about that because the evolution of the league, which I think dovetails into the return and really the narrative, right? The Supercats are, I think, up for their best season ever, and it happens to be the first season that you're not there. And at first glance, there you could see some causality. And I think the reality is that when you were first there, you were, you might have made the logo. You probably had your cricket out making the first T-shirts for the youth flag game. I mean, when I was down there a couple of weeks ago, the amount of coaches I saw compared to, many of the years that you were there was shocking. So I'll ask you that, to see them pump resource into the rugby side of things after you're gone, how stark is that difference? And really, how has that changed across the league, from year one? Because you're one of the few guys who's been here from year one and remembers, when it was a little bit more amateurish than it is now.
Yeah, I think it's probably a realization of what it's going to take to be competitive in this league. LA showed it last year, and we're kind of the first, Hollywood team, pardon the pun, to really invest in a team from the ground up, and that translated to a championship. So, the first few years you could probably get away with taking some shortcuts and probably being a bit, thin on some areas of the organization. But now you can't, and it's just going to end up in terrible seasons and lots of losses. So I want Houston to be a successful team. The fans there deserve it. The owners deserve it. It's a great place for rugby. And I think they've realized that and realized what they need to do to make them more competitive and to be, a title contender. So it's great to see. I'm proud of the work I did there, and I always will be. And I always look back on my time there very fondly. We'll kind of finish up my days knowing that I had some part in it. And hopefully they're there for a long time and they have a successful and storied career history.
So we know that Pat is actively involved in trying to get a team to Kansas City. So the name, maybe a cat name, who knows? We'll leave that for later. But we're putting money into his kitty, but we're going to put some information in his kitty tonight, something that might help him that, we can switch out for monetary value. The most overrated expense in a Major League Rugby team and the most underrated expense. In terms of if you're going to put investment into a team, it doesn't matter what it is. We can talk small to big, overrated and underrated.
Okay, I'd probably say most underrated. Underrated is probably going to be. In the early days for us, I think what set Houston up for the success that they've seen, sort of as a brand, was social media and just content. And the power of social media now is incredible. It'll take your team to parts of the world that you never thought were ever going to see it. So, the work that goes into providing fancy clips and highlight reels, sizzle reels, sound bites, mic'd up, all those sorts of things have such a big place in professional sports now. And if it's done badly, it's very hard to watch and people will tune out straight away. So that'd be one of them. I think kit, you got to look good to play good and you want to feel good.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Okay. That was the real reason down there in Houston the first several years, wasn't it?
Yeah. Their jerseys look great this year. It's good. But overrated expenditure or investment would be that's a tough one. You've stumped me there.
Chris Robshaw?
You can't say foreign players because he's foreign. So
right, that's why I picked one specific one.
I don't think anything that is invested into the team will have its place, and there's not many things that you can cut short on or that doesn't really need to be there, from travel to food, from facility, quality of kit, like all that kind of stuff. You cut, none of that. The money that you spend on all those things and invest in those things is super important for us. I know JT does a great job at game day. From there, like the game day there, they invest a lot of money and time into that. And I think that creates such a great atmosphere for families and people to come and watch the game that might not know about rugby, but that'll keep them coming back because it is so fun. So, the enthusiasts and the rugby, old heads would probably say, well, this loud music and all the fanfare around pre-game, in between kicks, in between halftime, that stuff doesn't need to be there, but there's definitely a place for it.
So get the checkbook out. He basically said there's no expense that's wasted and spend more on everything.
Yep. Snoop Dogg at halftime.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's
Sam. Now the important question, Sam, I'm going to hit you with this one, and I can see you're already getting nervous. How's Becca doing, and is she like in New York?
Becca. She actually chose not to come to the game this weekend in Houston. She left New York to go to Vegas, I think, for a little bit of R&R because the stress was too much leading into the game. So no, she's great.
It's weird because Hetty said he's headed to Vegas as well this weekend.
Nice, good. One win 1 week, and they get the week off. That'd be nice. Jeez. Becca's loving it. She's New York's always been a special place for her. Sisters. She lived here for a while. She lived with her sister here. Her sister still lives here. So being close to her is super important for her. And it's for some reason she wanted to be back up in this part of the world. And I'm not going to say she loved Texas, but that definitely wasn't her first destination when I first came to the States. And she really sacrificed a lot to put up with me and my career. So I'll be forever grateful for the 4 years that she gave me in Houston. And if she gets a little bit of enjoyment out of living in New York and living out some of her dreams, then that's a win for me. But she's loving it. She couldn't be happier.
God, you're like the perfect man,
isn't he?
Sam.
Like a great answers. Can't trip him up.
No.
Can't get him to throw anyone under a bus, no matter if
Polished. Should have known better. All right, buddy. Have a good game this weekend. Excited to watch it. I'm sure a lot of people, it's probably going to be one of the more watched games, and that's a testament to everything you did during your time in Houston that people want to actually come and watch this game. Saturday night, right?
Saturday night, yeah. It's 7 p.m. Central. So, Saturday night. It's perfect time to play footy, and I think the weather's going to be nicer, so I'm sure Aviva will be pumping. I can't wait. The team can't wait, and it's as you mentioned before, the first week bye is a blessing and a curse, I guess. With the short preseason, we're allowed to, an extra week of prep, but now we got 16 games in 17 weeks, so can't wait. Let's rip in.
I hope the DJ has your old song when you took 3 points every single time and just accidentally plays it when you kick one from New York.
All sorts of dirty tricks from JT and his little multimedia skills to try and put me on.
Yeah. We named the show after Sam. Point taken.
Point taken.
Yeah, point taken.
There you go. That's the greatest honor ever. No, I know the greenskeepers in Houston are happy you're gone. They're not filling divots every other day now from you being out in the golf course, but I'm sure JT's doing well enough down there anyway, making those big chunks. How about that slice? It was a toss-up between him and OJ, who had the best slice. And it was a tight one. Anyway, Sammy, Thanks, get ready. Rest up. It's going to be a cracker Saturday night. Appreciate you coming on the show, mate.
Thanks, guys. I hope you get to see episode 2, and this is a prospect. Thanks, guys.
Well, if we can keep getting the Harrys of the world on the show, I think we might have a chance.
That's the way, yeah.
He was easy on the eye. Let me just tell you that.
I couldn't. I mean, his eyebrows just kept me going. I was just like, geez. Just like he's like winking at me every time. I was like, hey, I'm married.
I thought he was winking at me. It probably was at you, actually. Oh, that's fair. Point taken. Game Windsor. All right, mate. We'll let you go. Good luck this weekend.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Sammy Windsor, Rugby New York, not United, not Houston, Rugby New York. There he is. All right, guys, we're going to take another break. We'll step away for a second. When we come back in, JP, one of your favourite segments, the MLR burner account's coming up. Pat, you've got your monologue as well. We're going deep into Clifton's mind, which is so scary. But make sure you have the safety so you get the ripcord to get out of there if you go too deep. When we return, Pat, JP, burners, monologues, it's all coming up after this.
Faster. I know who and what I am! I know who and what I am! I'm a money free Jack man! I'm a money free Jack man! We play hard and we play fast! We play hard and we play fast! Ain't no way we coming last! Ain't no way we coming last! Boy, do that gritty work! Boy, do that dirty work! That's the back and start to twerk! That's the back and start to twerk! We gon' be the only task! We gon' be the only task! So free Jack, are we ready? Yes, we are ready! Free Jack, are we ready? Yes, we are ready! Hoo-ha, hoo-ha, hoo-ha! It is! It is! Free Jacks are having a party! Free Jacks are having a party! Free Jacks are having a party!
There it is, our very own Rise of Rugby commercial. We're going to play ad nauseum time and time again. I don't know if that was something that ground your gears on the weekend. That ad just played non-stop. I had my wife walk in. She's like, what are you watching? Why is this saying? I'm like, it's an ad. And she's like, it's the same ad. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
They're just trying to nail that
Week
point.
one, honey. It's week one.
It's like one of those great movies. Every time I watch it, I pick up something new, like, the pipsqueak in Bowden's voice as he's trying to finish it. It's pretty
I
fantastic.
love it. Pat, monologue time. The serious part of the show here. Gets heavy. Here's the gravity, folks. Let us go.
Let's talk commodities. Let's talk imports versus exports, all right? Let's talk foreign and domestic. In that parlance, Giltini's legend Matt Giteau is a Heineken or maybe like a Chimay, something nice and imported, real fancy. That makes New England Free Jack prop Kyle Chikara more like a Hams or a Natty Light. Sure, one looks a little sexier in a tight, stretchy koozie, but do they get the job done just the same? That's really the question at hand here. Matt Giteau, 0 minutes on the weekend for the LA Giltinis. Kyle Chikara, maybe a couple there in reserve. Both of these guys, I'm asking who brings more value to the franchise? Is it the homegrown guy in shot, Kyle Chikara, who can literally pay in beef jerky, or is it the guy, Matt Giteau, who has 7 F-45 franchises now in Southern California on top of, the entire salary cap stuffed into the back of his Speedo as he drives off on his moped? So which one actually retains more value? Because as we saw, the LA Giltinis, one of their own staff members, as they were setting up for their home opening game, saw Matt Giteau and said, "Hey, are you with the team?" So Matt Giteau, their prized $500,000 man, are you with the team? One of their own staff members didn't even recognize him. So if we're bringing over the paid celebrity, sure, he can score a few more points on the field, but who sells more tickets? Is it the mullet man in New England, or is it Matt Giteau? So is it foreign or domestic for you guys? Is it a lukewarm Hams, or are you thinking more of a Chimay?
Firstly, it's Budgie Smugglers, future sponsor of the show. Budgie Smugglers, the most comfortable sluggos on the market. But we talked about this. We looked into this already. I think the Giteaus of the world are a necessity. Like early on, it's inevitable. However, if I am controlling the marketing, I'm pushing all homegrown, 100%. The only thing that worries me about Chikara is he's not getting enough minutes. So I'm going homegrown, who's starting week in, week out, every billboard in town. People are going to get behind that story. Like you said, the guy, we all know Matt Giteau.
Like a Hetty. We need to get on Netflix and just start recruiting.
But think of like a Hetty that was born and raised here that can play for the Eagles. That we can follow the transition from, hey, this kid played high school, college, MLR.
That's what I meant.
There's a different Hetty?
I said the local Hetty.
Oh, but even that, I would even reverse that. Let's get even more crude in a dollars and cents standpoint and less romantic about it. Kyle Chikara has been, he's got to be, his face has been put through the New England Free Jack social media channels at least as much as Matt Giteau's face has been.
Yeah.
And has Matt Giteau sold them a single ticket more than Kyle Chikara has?
He won him a championship. Do you know why? Because you were able to recruit off of the back of a player like that. So you have to balance that. Yes, long term, we all agree you need to pile into domestic talent. You've got to do this. But if you're trying to assemble a roster in a first-year team, you want to win Major League Rugby your first year in the competition, you need a roster. And you need your leader, because everybody else will follow. And look what they did with their roster last year. It would have started with a few key pieces, Adam Ashley Cooper, Matt Giteau, likes of those players. And then from that point, it's really easy to recruit, and it's easy to pull the best domestic talent there as well. So I think I agree with you. Like every time you come on the show and you want to put all of the foreigners on a plane out of here and get rid of all of their green cards, just remove them from the competition. I appreciate that. I understand for the sustainability of the league, it's important, but winning's important as well.
Well, first off, it's not that binary. I think you need both, right? I think you absolutely need both.
A little girl from
but the reality is,
why not both?
If you're the Gillies, right? Just look at it from an ROI standpoint. How many more Gillies beers did you sell because you paid $500,000 to Matt Giteau? How many more tickets did you really sell? How much brand did you build?
None.
That's what I want to see.
None.
Right.
None.
So you want to get, but how much did the championship win? Let's see what the first Coliseum attendance is. If it's not a significant uptick from last year, then winning that championship, what's the ROI on it?
Mm-hmm. It's a good point. But it's almost like you're two different divisions of an organization arguing over what's more important when the CEO is like, you're both important. You're both my favorite children.
Yeah.
So, but I get it.
Yeah, we talk about it often from like a winning or losing standpoint. We don't often talk about it from a dollars and cents standpoint, which is what the attack that I wanted to bring it from.
I'm going to spin this off real quick and tell a quick. I'll make it sharp. I remember watching the Olympics in a bar in New York. I want to say it was 2008, so it was Beijing, right? And swimming's on. Australia win a silver medal. USA came third. And I think Germany won the gold. And no one cared, like not a noise in the bar. And I'm like, hey, you guys won a bronze. And he's like, I don't care. America doesn't care about third place. We only care about winners. So there is that element to it as well. So
Sure.
the Kyle Sequeiras of the world, great guy, probably never going to play for the Eagles, probably never going to be a starter in the MLR. So you have to balance it out. You need the performance on the field to match the marketing off the field as well. But I like where your head's at and where you're going with it.
I'll take that.
All right. My favorite segment, because it's time to go MLR burner account. JP, we had a big weekend, and you've become quite the sleuth on. And Reddit is your favorite platform now.
I wouldn't lie. I mean, it's great. If I want a little bit of humor or I want to feel better about myself, if I was a player, I definitely wouldn't go on there.
Don't go on there.
Definitely wouldn't feel better. If you're a player or you care about what people think of you, stay off Reddit.
Stay off Reddit. Serena Williams' husband invented Reddit. There you go. Little segue there. A little bit of knowledge. All right. What do you got first for us?
We're going to go with one, and we're going to talk about halfbacks in the league.
Okay.
This one's a little bit juicy. They're talking about Holden Youngett here, and Holly Oak, who we're going to have to guess in a minute, says Youngett has the service of a DMV and the field vision of Ray Charles. I mean, that's pretty bad.
Who did Ray play for?
I think the Nola Gold as well. I think. Yeah.
Do you think that was
Right,
Pollard?
that's great, Pat. That was really good. You probably did.
Do you think that was Pollard just like cementing his role there?
Poland.
Poland.
Not
Pollard.
We've got to figure out our
I think
software.
it's Damian Stevens. He's still pissed off about some of the starts he missed out on last year to Holden Youngert.
Oh, I felt bad every week, Pat. I was going like, you need to start Damian Stevens. You need to start Damian Stevens. And then, they still didn't make the playoffs.
Let's go with the World Cup starter or Dallin Stanford's favorite player. The World Cup starter, Dallin Stanford.
Well, he's up there now. They're New England.
Yep.
It's all working out. So they got to win. It's hard to criticize winners. They got the win against Nola, his old team. But, yeah, maybe a disgruntled old Nola fan there. All right.
It's really aggressive too. I mean, I
It is.
appreciate the creativity. Okay, the second one. We're going to go straight in. I think this is an inside job, this one. This is talking about if you want to join Major League Rugby as a pro player and sword in a puddle, says make sure you clear all of your performance-enhancing drugs before you go trial. You can go to every rugby tournament you can attend, look to invite only team tournaments and talk to their players, blah, blah, blah. And it says my MLR team, the Mighty Rattlers, holds clinics. So, we've actually got an image here. We put it through the software and it came up with the actual burner account. And we're going to pull him up here just in a second.
Let's see what it was.
Let's get him up here. Is he coming? He's a big man, so we got to get. Oh, there he is.
There it is. Head coach Stephen Brett, obviously well versed in that PED regiment there. He actually a handsome guy with no hair, Brett. You should maybe look into that.
It's not Skittles in the corner of the locker room. Those are Tom Osborne specials, the 90s Nebraska specials.
Hey, the Cornhuskers, that's when they could play ball.
So the first thing you think of if you're going to go play Major Rugby in the United States is clear your PEDs. Like, I didn't even know what a PED was until moving to America.
Interesting. I thought it was like the little plastic with the candy come out, and they're like, no, that's Pez. I'm like, oh, that's right. Different candy. All right, what's next?
There it is again. Well, I think there's actually a few images up here in terms of likeness. So we've got a mascot, a bit of a crisis in Major League Rugby. We see here, so the Gilgronis mascot looks a lot like the Dallas Jackals. I mean, can you see the likeness?
I can see the likeness between the 2022 Dallas Jackals and the winless 2018 Austin team. So it would make sense that the mascots would look similar.
To play for the Texas Cup and a mascot? Was that taken on Monday morning? They steal it? It's a jackal and a fox, right? Which are pretty similar creatures, both of the Canis species. What phylum are they in? Just kidding, JP. I don't even know that answer. That was close. What's next?
So this one, I think we've got a brother and sister in the league actually playing, and so
doesn't seem fair, really.
A little bit of hairstyle here as we look in, and it's just sequentially photos. Look at this.
Nick Boy and Cat Roach. Who wore it better?
Definitely Roach.
Cat Roach.
Of course.
How cool is her story? I'm excited to watch her go this year.
Guaranteed Boyer spent more time on his.
He definitely cared more of what his head looked like. Cat just wanted to call a good game. But excited for her. Like, she had her first game last year at the back end of MLR. Hope to see her back in the middle again soon. I thought she did really well.
Unfortunately, I think you're going to see a lot less American referees in Major League Rugby. There's a little bit of it happened. No, it happened. Look, you're going to see a lot less of them. So you can talk to your Scott Greens and those guys. You're going to see them less in the center this year.
New Zealand Scott Green.
Yeah, but the guys that are coming up through the American system that have been, in grassroots refereeing.
So how long do you have to live in the States before you will actually hold a conversation with someone?
Who, me?
Yeah, like
I'm talking to you bozos right now.
But you've known us for how long?
15 minutes, a little bit longer,
We're going to start a fund separate to the KC MLR fund to take you to Ellis Island and go look at the book and see actually where this country was populated from. So unless you are Cherokee Nation.
Look, all you got to do is come to my rugby, watch the team I coach, and, we look like the freaking Giltinis pretty close to it.
What date are we going to see it? When is the game being played? April?
Oh, it's the Blues.
Yeah, the Blues. So we actually added another column on the scoreboard for 3 digits.
I was going to say you've never beaten the Blues, and now that James been on the coaching staff, you're
pretty cocky off that 1 or 2 point win last year.
The only difference is we're actually playing this year.
Oh yeah, you two are playing.
Hell, I'm no chance of me playing.
Yeah, I talk about the high bombs we're going to send to this guy in the corner.
Yeah,
I'm going to be hiding in the corner.
Yeah.
All right. Any more burners?
No, that's it for this
That
week.
was it.
Yep.
That was it for the burners. All right. Let's dive into the games this weekend. Again, we've touched on last weekend. It was a great start. Really was. Week 1 was hot. Pat, I'm going to start with you. It's Utah and Seattle. It's actually Thursday night, so tomorrow night we've got a long run. We have Thursday, Friday, Saturday games this weekend, but it all starts in Seattle Thursday night. Utah, Seattle. What are you thinking?
That's right. I think it was a very good. This is one of the Western Conference clashes that I think are going to lead to a potential playoff berth. Right, these guys could be fighting for one of the top 3 spots without question in the West. And I've got going with the same theme here. A couple of purebred American Pie guys, and Lance Williams, the former linebacker out of the University of Hawaii, playing in the back row for the Utah Warriors, and Ben Landry played a little walk-on football for the Wisconsin Badgers and then at Wisconsin Whitewater, and he's in the second row or back row for the Seattle Seawolves most likely. He was on the first 15 last week. These two guys, I think, are very similar players, high motors. They can absolutely clash. And these guys run into each other is going to be really important. I think the forwards is where it's going to be decided in this game. So
I agree. Huge Lance Williams fan. Glad you picked him. Hope he gets a cap this year. I really do. I hope he gets that shot at the Eagles. Otherwise, what a missed opportunity to capture a great player. Winner?
I'm going to go with the Seattle Seawolves taking this one on the road. Actually, I like
home. They're at home. Even better. JP?
This is difficult. There's been 5 changes to the side for this Utah Warriors, and I think I'm going to have to go Seattle at home. I really find it hard to bet against the Warriors, but I really think in the second row they're missing that dominating presence of Fortain from last season. I thought he was great, and at 9 they're just not getting the service they were last year or the threat around the ruck.
Yeah, that Basker Hurst thing is definitely something that they're still working to overcome, and Fortain as well. I'm going to make it a trifecta here. I'll go Seattle at home as well. I was pretty impressed more defensively how they played against Toronto. I thought they defended really well, which was the hallmark of their first 2 seasons, that strong defensive system. All right, moving on Friday night, it's LA-Toronto. Crazy one here, Pat. One of these teams is 0-2 after this week, which blows my mind.
Absolutely. I mean, this could be the championship game come, July, I think it is, or August 1 this year, maybe. Mm-hmm. This is a fantastic matchup. The Giltinis traveling up to BC, so it's the first West Coast home game for the Toronto Arrows. Yeah. Most of their guys are from the East Coast. I don't know what the showing is going to be up there, so I'm going to take a little bit of piss out of the first homecoming. The first Canadian game, I think, is going to have a little less heat to it, and I'm going to take the Giltinis on the road. I think they've got too much firepower. I just think that the home field advantage is going to be there for the Arrows. They also got to travel a lot of time zones to get there, whereas the Giltinis don't.
I'm waiting for you to find like an American player in the Toronto team.
Okay, all right. It's Ben Lesage in the Giltinis who's coming over from the Arrows, and of course, Ueta Fuga, who is his replacement. These two guys, the centers, Lesage was fantastic last year for the Arrows, and now he moves over to the Giltinis. They can't develop the American or Canadian players; they just steal them from other teams. And Tafuga, they imported him from the land of the long white cloud where James comes from. So I think these guys, there's a little bit in it. It's one replacement. I think there's a lot in it for those two.
I'm going to have you drinking a Gillies in a Giltini jersey before the year's out. Adam Breyer has helped me out with this one. We'll get him a jersey. We'll get him a case of Gillies. We'll put them right here on the set, and you'll be a Giltinis fan by the end of the year. JP, what do you think on this one?
Gillies. Yeah. I think they've got it. losing Visage was really noticeable last week. Just that solid presence in the midfield. I think that's been difficult. And then, they've got to sort out the 10 situation at the moment with some injuries.
I think Malcolm's back.
You think he's back?
I'm hearing he's going to be back, which
make a big difference.
That's a 10-point.
Yeah, big difference.
Right there. So, yeah, I'll go with you as well. I just can't see a world where LA goes 0-2. So, LA as well. All right, JP, let's move it on. Dallas, San Diego. They've lost their mascot. They lost their first game.
They're going to lose their second game.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. Their scrum. I mean, you can work on things, but if you don't have a set piece that you don't lose every single time, it's very, very difficult to win a rugby game. So they struggled up front. They've got a lot of younger players coming in through this roster, a lot of players that are going to kind of find their feet. So it's going to take them a few more games to be competitive. I'm looking at San Diego, and I think they've actually taken a step forward. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them play the early parts of this season. So I think if they can get some momentum behind them, they're going to be a very hard team to stop. A guy that I really love this weekend, Tian Lutz. He's one of my favorites. We talk about this story. He's not American, I'm sorry, but he was in a system last year. So halfway through Major League Rugby, he was playing rugby in Milwaukee, D1 club rugby in Milwaukee. He comes back, plays Major League Rugby in 8 games. If you look statistically against him and a guy that we said was the most attacking player in Major League Rugby, Mikey Teo. Okay, this is interesting. Per game, average 12 ball carries. Teo averaged 11. How many touches a game? He averaged 19. Teo averaged 17. Meters gained on the ground, 90 meters a game versus 97. This is a guy came out of nowhere, plugged himself into a situation, and really changed the momentum of that team in terms of how they attack the rest of the season. So I'm looking forward to watching him kind of find his way this season.
I mean, people up in Milwaukee tackled him.
I mean, I didn't even notice it when he was there, but I guess he's one of the players that he comes out of club rugby and just prefers professional rugby.
He was at the Sabercats, so he's part of the San Diego Sabercat crew now. You've got Lutz, Morani, and Ferre down there. So, and again, that adds to the angst of Houston fans probably seeing 3 players that left their team and succeed at San Diego because Morani and Lutz last year and Ferre look like he's going to rip into out there. So I'll go San Diego as well. I'll keep it quick. Dallas, I'll stick. They will not win a game.
San Diego, if I did power rankings after week 1, they'd be at the top. So easy win for them.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Game of the week for me, this one, JP. It's New York on the road at Houston.
Yeah. For me, we talked about it earlier in the show. It's New York. I think Houston, a very good side. So they've changed this year. They're going to play physical rugby. We saw that last week. Look at how many times they actually had a penalty advantage. They could have taken points. Instead, they tapped to go. They scrummed. They've got a really solid set piece. They're going to put pressure on you, pressure on you, pressure on you. And you saw that last week. 3 yellow cards for the Guiltinis. So if they can hold their discipline, New York, and they can absorb some of it early on, I think they've just got too much experience and firepower. New York, since wins his homecoming, he's going to be up for it. You've got a great number of off-season signings for this New York team that will come and step in immediately and make an impact. I'm looking forward to it. If I'm looking at players to watch this game, Willie Britz, he scored a try last week. He stole the line out at the end of the game. He was all over the field. It's in the 7 jersey, but plays blindside, typical South African. That's what they lacked last year with the Sabercats, was like a really dominant loose forward. They didn't really have one last year. I think they had, Beauchamp, Garber, and Magno.
Yeah, Boyson, he seemed to be injured a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. It's a good thing. Is Sam signed off? Can I go for Houston now? No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna stay with New York as well. I don't. And again, maybe it's just a little history here. Sabercats have won their first game, I think, nearly every year, and then we've all seen how it ended. So until they can turn it around, which I think they will, I think they'll have a really good year. I got a chance to chat to Heineke Meyer earlier this week, and I really feel like some people have questioned that, and I was guilty too, I guess, of saying is that really the investment you want to make? But if you can turn it around and get things going, even with all those South African players, is it worth it? Because does that stadium in Aviva fill up, and does that make the ownership happy? They're getting wins. They got fans in the stands spending their hard-earned, and it's hard to argue with that.
Well, I wrote about it last year that's all they needed, because I think the Sabercats actually have the ability to cash in on the winning. They're not renting a stadium that has 80,000 more seats than they need it. So in Houston, if you win, you fill the seats, you cash the check for the beer that you sell, the pretzels that you sell. There's a lot more in it for them. So I think they're at the point in their franchise, and their phase where it makes sense to do that. I think they're going to win at home. I expected them to be very, very good, but when I was there even just a month ago, Heineke had only just arrived. A lot of their players only just arrived. I thought that they would be starting too much of not their finished product, too far away from their finished product. And the fact that they beat the Giltinis says to me that I think they're going to ameliorate quicker in the short term than a lot of other teams because the amount of IP around it and the little time they've had, they're already this good. I think they're going to get better faster. And so I like the Sabercats at home.
Yeah, and you mentioned that already.
Can I change?
The quality of opposition from last year to this year is a lot higher from Seattle. That Seattle team that we all saw struggle last year compared to LA, who we all anticipate will be very, very good again this year. No, you cannot change.
Well, he was a good salesman. Huh? It was a good sales pitch.
Yeah, but you can't change. All right, Atlanta, New Orleans, one of the great rivalries in sports, especially American football. I love it. Falcons, Saints. Won't be as good anymore. Matty Ice and Drew Brees gone. Anyway, we're digressing. All right, my play to watch this one's going to be Will Leonard. Big fan of Will Leonard. New York center. The reason being is JP Duplessis is really one of the most defensively sound inside centers. Two foreign players. Sorry, Pat. I'm going to sharpen this up next week. I promise. Probably one of the most sound defensive players. He's a great communicator, and he leads that back line defensively really, really well. So Will Leonard, in new colours, comes down from New York, had a solid game against Old Glory, but he's going to have a really big performance to outmatch JP Duplessis this weekend. If Atlanta go on the road and they've had a lot of sex,
Harry, week one, folks, mark it down. Week one canceled.
Dan Power, too hot to handle. Success at the gold mine. We've done it. Love it. So I think that'll continue. I think Atlanta, a win on the road here.
Me too. I'm going to take Atlanta. I'm surprised. I guess maybe I shouldn't be. Scott Lawrence has coached a lot of teams, stepped away from him, and they're really good. And they've continued to do that here. And so Atlanta looks like they haven't taken a step back whatsoever. And I think that, he's good at systems and models. And so it takes a lot of time to unravel those. And they've got a lot of good players. And unfortunately, I think the Gold are going to be in for a tough season. I don't see them competing in the East. There's not enough depth in that team. And that transition in coaching and culture is going to take a little longer.
I'm going to go for ATL as well, but I think you're underestimating. You talk about systems, and you look at it from the player side. I think we're not giving Stephen Brett enough credit in the conversation. Sure. So you say, everybody's like Scott Lawrence is a great coach, hugely important to USA Rugby. But look at even the change in their team last year when you had a guy like Stephen Brett come in and work together with him. He wasn't silenced in the corner. He was able to find his voice within that team, which made them a great side last year. And then now this season, I think you're going to see them accelerate. And, it's not just because of the systems that were put in. It's because Stephen Brett's a very good coach. And he's had some of the best coaches in the world coach him since he was yay high. So.
Yeah, for sure. But you have change, right? And I guess the continuity there is really the secret. And Blake Bradford's a really good coach, too, who's had to do this in life several times and been through these iterations several times there. So to your point, I think the continuity on both sides is great.
ATL. Okay. Yep. All right, last game of the weekend. It is Old Glory on the road, Austin. Oof, this could be an absolute beatdown. My player is Julian Dominguez. How good? I think he'll be the signing of the year. I think it showed that Nolan missed him on the weekend, just his ability to create opportunities out of nothing, and he scored a great try. It's been all over social media all week. He just manhandled someone from Dallas. I'm not sure who it was. I'm not sure who it was wants me to know who it was so I can mention them. But him and Mark O'Keefe have formed a really good relationship, which is terrifying for the nightlife of Austin after games. But it's great to have that early sync. Two players who have come from different clubs, syncing up early. I like Austin. After the LA game, Pat, I am thinking that the West is Austin's to lose at this point.
Well, that's where he put all his chips this season. So, look at their off-season signings and how well they've recruited. I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Austin is the team to beat. I think they'll make easy work of Old Glory DC.
Without question. Old Glory, I think, is interesting. Them and the Free Jacks, I think, have taken a kind of a similar tact year to year, not as much turnover in their teams without the success to maybe justify it. So I think that they're maybe the teams that are watching that ROI a little bit more than they're trying to win every. Now that's an accusation, maybe, right? But I think that they are keeping a close line on that ROI, not overextending on trying to overinvest and win like Austin is. Austin, I think, is going to win on the takeaway on this one. I think DC is going to be lucky to be middle of the pack.
You know what would be a good case study for ROI is what happened to Seattle's ticket sales last year when they were losing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There was also a COVID year in Seattle. You couldn't, just far fewer, COVID-friendly places to run a live sporting place in 2021 than probably Seattle.
Yeah.
In terms of restrictions and the culture around the place. But let me ask you this. Austin, right? Everybody likes to do the bleached hair for all these fines. You mentioned some of the nightlife stuff. You've got to kick it up a notch. What's the next? I mean, because having blonde hair doesn't seem to bother Dominguez or O'Keefe. It's not whipping them in line. So what do we got to do to crank this up a notch?
I mean,
delete their Tinder accounts?
Is that even still a thing?
I don't know. I'm aging myself.
Yeah, I don't think these guys need Tinder.
Yeah, no, not in Austin.
Yeah.
In a barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That's a good point. I spoke to Nate Augsburger. His hair was blonde. I'm like, were you late to training? He goes, no, I just wanted to do it. And I'm like, everyone's doing it.
Just a huge.
Would you have done it?
I did it when I was younger. And no, fine, just did it.
Would you do it now?
Slim Shady. Tick, 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 like that, yeah. So it was pretty cool. No, yeah, I think it just reek of desperation at my age now. What, should I get like Miata as well and cruise around the streets?
But what? Is there a difference if you just did the tips?
I don't know.
I've always wanted to do it. I'm curious. I just want someone to do it with me.
Yeah, it'll turn orange.
From all the sex in Atlanta to James wanting someone to do just the tips with him. The first show.
Yeah. Who are we picking in this one? Austin.
You're not gonna have a Major League Rugby team here if we're gonna lose the bet. So did we tally up from last week? How much money we raised for the franchise here?
No, we did not. We'll get the accounting guy next week. We haven't raised enough money to get anybody to count, so we'll get caught up next week.
We're on it. All right. Final thoughts.
Great show, guys. Live is fantastic. What an adventure roller coaster. First live studio show, I think, on the Rugby Network.
I hope so.
I think we've made history here today. Nothing like three white dudes doing it. You know what I'm saying? Making history on the Rugby Network. No, it was good stuff. We got a lot of rugby to talk about. I'm excited for another big weekend of rugby.
Yeah. Stay safe down there in New Orleans for rugby ATL players. If it's not on, it's not on. Just so you know. There we go. The point taken. Pat Clifton, James Patterson, Dan Power, Ryan Ginty, the man behind the scenes making it happen. We appreciate you tuning in. Get on the socials, get some feedback. We want to be a little bit more interactive as we move forward with this, as we kind of iron out some of the kinks going ahead. But we want to have it you at home involved as well. So you're sitting here in the studio with us and interacting, give us your thoughts, where we're right, where we're wrong, probably more wrongs than right, you would think. And then we're gonna start our own troll account on Reddit. So see if you can identify which account it is, and whoever guesses first, we've got a prize coming. I don't know what it is, but we'll have a prize coming. It might be a case of Gillies. I'll have to talk to Gilly. All right. Thanks for tuning in. It's been The Point Taken. We'll catch you next time.